I got a really great question in a YouTube comment recently, and that question was, how much should I spend on a keyboard? The question of price often comes up near the beginning of a piano journey. And in a previous video, I talked about some of the features that I think are really important when choosing your first keyboard. If you haven't had a chance to look at that video, I'll post a link to it in the description below so you can check it out. But one of the things that I mention is that you don't really need to spend a lot of money when you're first starting out learning piano. In fact, I usually recommend that people rent their instrument first, if possible, or try to get something used so that they can just familiarize themselves with the instrument and get a sense of whether or not they even want to continue learning how to play piano. But if you're at the point where you've done that, or you do feel pretty sure that you would like to spend money and make an investment in an instrument, then I have a couple of considerations for you to help you decide which price point you should be aiming for. I know that this is not the most scientific sounding, but when I think about keyboards, I tend to think of them in three different price ranges: $0 to $500 US, $500 to $1,000 US, and $1,000 US and more. Basically, most keyboards are generally manufactured to be about the same. They will all have black and white keys. Some keyboards will have more than others. They might be full size at 88, others might be really small at only 56, or somewhere in the middle. But all keyboards have, you can learn on anything, basically. You don't have to break the bank in order to learn how to play. But then, of course, like as with most things, the more money that you can invest into something, the higher quality instrument you're going to get. But then what does higher quality really mean? When you're just starting out in piano, it can be difficult to know if you're getting a good deal or not. So that's what I'd like to kind of help you break down a little bit, to give you some features to think about, and to understand where you might want to put more money compared to less money. So in a previous video, I talked about the different features that I thought were really important in an electric piano. And at the top of my list is touch sensitivity. Touch sensitivity is when you can control the volume of how loud or soft the note plays out based on how hard or soft you hit the key. Touch sensitivity is absolutely crucial when it comes to being able to express yourself and play expressively on piano. If you can't play expressively, you're not going to enjoy the experience for very long, okay? So touch sensitivity is really important. The other feature that I mentioned in that video is a sustain pedal. That's the foot pedal that lets you allow the notes to ring out. Also, not only really fun, but very important for expressive playing. And there's a third feature that I would like to add to this list when it comes to making a decision about your price point, and that is the key weight. The weight of the key is basically how heavy it feels to play. It is kind of a subjective preference, but some people prefer to have a heavier key that takes a little bit more effort to play. That would be a heavily weighted key. Other people don't feel that their fingers are quite strong enough for a heavy key, and so they look for something that's lighter weight. And so these are kind of the three main features, and I'll just talk about them as they pertain to the different price points that I just mentioned. Keyboards in the $0 to $500 range may not have all of the features that I just described. Some of them have touch sensitivity, some don't. Some come with a sustain pedal, others don't. Some come with weighted keys, others don't. So if you are in the market for a keyboard and you don't really care about having any of those features, you just want to learn how to play notes, then you may do very well to choose an instrument that's under the $500 range. I guess all that I would really say about instruments in this price range is that it won't give you very much capacity to grow. At some point, you are going to have to upgrade. And if that's something that you want to think about and decide about in the future, and right now you just want to play, then perhaps an instrument in this range is right for you. In the $500 to $1,000 range, all electric pianos will have the three features I just discussed: touch sensitivity, a sustain pedal, and weighted keys. But at the $500 to $1,000 range, each company, each brand will have to make a decision about which of those features they are going to put more of their research and development dollars into. So what I find is that in this range, some keyboards have really sensitive touch sensitivity where you have basically what they call like more degrees of sensitivity, so that there are like multiple levels of sensitivity that it will register from your touch. But in keyboards like that, where the R&D dollars have been put into touch sensitivity, in those cases, sometimes the weight of the key can be a little bit unsophisticated. So maybe the weight of the key is just kind of heavy, it's a little bit stiff, or there's not that much weight at all. In other cases, sometimes the weight of the key has been really highly researched and they've like mapped out exactly the physics of how they can make it resemble the lever hammer motion of a real piano. But then in those cases, again, depending on how much you're going to spend between $500 and $1,000, they may not have been able to give that much attention to the touch sensitivity. I would say that if you've been playing piano for a couple of years, you're probably ready to invest in an instrument that is between the $500 and $1,000 range. My only recommendation is that you try out a bunch of instruments in this price point before you decide on the one that you'd like. You want to find a keyboard that is enjoyable to play, that feels good under your fingers, and basically invites you to keep playing it. If you select a keyboard that you think is better because it costs more, but it's not that enjoyable to play, no amount of willpower is going to bring you back to your keyboard. You really want to find an instrument that's right for you, regardless of the price. Keyboards that are above the $1,000 price point typically have had enough research and development dollars put into them that they have a pretty nicely balanced and well-rounded combination of good quality touch sensitivity, a high quality sustain pedal, and weighted keys that are really nicely balanced and more fully resemble a piano. At this price point, you might also notice that they start marketing their extra features, such as a really high quality sound bank or auxiliary capabilities like plugging into sound systems, or having particularly good speakers. But I do again want to say that just because a keyboard has gone beyond the $1,000 level does not necessarily mean that it's going to be more enjoyable for you to play. So for example, when I moved away to university, I decided to invest in an electric piano. I had been playing an acoustic piano at home up until that point, but I was moving to a residence and I needed something smaller and more portable. And it was really then that I had to make a decision, how was I going to spend my money and what did I want to prioritize in this instrument that I wanted to buy? And I noticed all of these different features. I was looking for touch sensitivity, I was looking for something with a sustain pedal, and I was looking for something with weighted keys. But I found that at the price point I was comfortable paying, I couldn't get all three. And so what I ended up doing was compromising on the key weight. To me, it was more important to have a keyboard that was really sensitive to when I wanted to play, and that came with a sustain pedal. But in terms of having a keyboard with super realistic, heavy keys, that just ended up not being that important to me. In fact, I kind of decided around that time that I could actually take it easier on myself and learn how to play faster if I had a keyboard whose keys were not that difficult to play. And so I ended up coming home with the Yamaha Portable Grand, which back in those days probably cost me like in the lower end of the $500 to $1,000 range. But that keyboard was perfect for me. I was playing at the ARCT level. It was not a full-size keyboard, but I didn't really need it to be. That keyboard was just right for me. And I played that keyboard for 15 years until I upgraded to the one that I have today. So I share that story just to encourage you to think about what's really important to you and decide how you want to spend your dollars. In my opinion, I think that you can do just fine with a keyboard that is between $500 and $1,000. If you're not there yet, if that seems like a reach for you, you can absolutely look for keyboards lower than that. You could also consider renting a keyboard and putting extra dollars away to save until you can afford a more expensive keyboard. And if you have $1,000 or more to spend on a keyboard, then have fun. But again, try to keep in mind the different features that a keyboard offers and try to be mindful of which features are the most important to you. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about this or further comments, I would really love to hear from you. If this video was helpful, I would really love it if you let me know by leaving me a comment or a like. It just lets me know that I'm on the right track. And if you have any questions, then absolutely reach out by leaving me a comment below. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.